Hi, my name is Rachel Keener, and I live in Asheville, North Carolina. I teach a practice called TRE, Tension and Trauma Releasing Exercises. And it's basically a series of gentle movements designed to stretch and contract and release or allow for an involuntary shaking and tremoring response. And different bodies will do this differently, and that's okay. Your body can't do this wrong. But probably the most important guidance is that slower is better with this practice. Doing less is actually more. And until you get a feel for it and you start to begin to see how your body's responding and how you feel 24 or 48 hours later, just go slow and we'll just get a taste for it. Okay. So the way that you will do that as we do the practice today is by just tuning in and tracking what you notice, your thoughts, feelings, sensations, and I'll offer that the majority of the time, what I hear most frequently is that the practice feels good, feels like maybe even something significant or powerful is happening. And naturally, we want to lean into that, especially if that feels like the majority of the experience. But often what is also happening at the same time or at varying points is there is this smaller voice or smaller knowing in us that may say things like, feels a little weird, feels uncomfortable, I feel unsure, or there might be thoughts of like feeling out of control or crazy or chaotic. And any of those may be quieter, maybe more subtle, sensing. That's what we're making room for. We're making room for the parts of ourselves that have been more vulnerable. And so that's the guidance that you're going to listen to. And as we go through, I'm going to show you how you go slow and how you rest. And so if those kinds of things are coming up for you, even in the midst of a larger experience that feels really good, I'm going to invite you to practice leaning into and making space for these other pieces. And we'll just go slow and take our time. Okay. All right. So just before we begin, I want to ground into my own body. So I'll invite you, you can do that with me. You can do it by either just noticing your breath, you don't need to change anything, or you can do it by inhaling through your nose, allowing it to just go where it goes naturally within your torso, and releasing with an open mouth. And that's the kind of breath that I'm going to choose. So just going to kind of move into my body. I can feel the lower half, how it's connecting to the floor. Recognize that support. And I'm just going to take a couple of breaths. So feel free to do so at your own pace if you choose. Okay. So I'm going to begin by standing up, and I'm just going to walk you through each movement. I'm going to show you each movement first, and then I'm going to invite you to join me. Okay. So making sure you guys can see everything. Okay. So the first movement we're going to do is just to ground and really kind of feel into our physical body, our container, being in the space that is around us right here, right now. In this first movement, we stand with our feet about hip-width apart. Our knees are soft. And then we're just going to shift our weight to the outside of one foot, the inside of the other. Doesn't matter which side of the body you do first. And so we'll shift our weight. The upper body just kind of hangs out. We're going to rest for a few seconds. I'm going to shift to the other side. We'll continue to have a pause in between these movements, a couple times on each side. And then after doing that, we're going to do the same motion. We're just going to take the pause out. So it might look something like this. You might lose your balance a little too, and then we can just come back in. Okay. All right, so when you're ready, you can go ahead and find your stance, feet about hip width apart, making sure the knees are soft, which means there's a slight bend in your knees. And then you're going to shift your weight to the outside of one foot and the inside of the other, just like this. And we're just going to pause here for a second or two. And then we can go to the opposite side. And pausing again. And you might allow your attention to travel in to the lower half of your body, maybe into your calves and your ankles. Back. You might notice where you feel the most sensation. Go back one more time on the opposite. And again, notice the ground underneath. And now we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to take the pause out. So just do a gentle rocking back and forth. Taking your time, moving at your own pace. Just kind of feeling into your body. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to center. Okay. And so after each movement, we're just going to shake it out. This is obviously not the involuntary shaking. This is on purpose. For each one, we can just kind of let it go. Oh, okay. So the next movement is for our calves. And you can choose to either do one side and then the other, or you can do them both at the same time. And for today, I'm just going to do them both at the same time. So again, I'm going to show it to you, and then I'll invite you to join me. So in a moment, I'm going to invite you to find some wall space. And you're going to put your hands out in front just for some stability. You're going to keep your gaze forward so that you protect your neck and your spine. And then you're just going to come up on the balls of your feet and then back down. And you're going to go nice and slow, up and down. And you're looking for a tension level of about a 7. So 0, you don't feel anything at all. And 10, it might be starting to hurt or might start to feel like you're working out. We're not really trying to build muscle or work out. We just want to be able to tell that we've got some feeling and some tension back there. Okay, so when you're ready, go ahead and find your wall space. And put your hands out in front of you. We'll keep our gaze forward, protect our neck and our spine. And then when you're ready, we're going to come up on the balls of our feet and then back down. And just nice and slow, taking your time. And again, you're looking for a tension level of about a 7. So 0, you don't feel anything. And 10, it might be starting to hurt. We just want to be around a 7. And then when you reach that 7, whatever it is for your body, you can turn back towards the center of the room. Different bodies will move at different paces, and that's okay. Okay. So the next movement that we will do is for our inner thighs. So if you have on socks, you might choose to take them off so that you don't slip. And if you have a mat available to you or a towel, whatever you need to put underneath, just so that you give yourself something to grip into or on, you might choose to do that as well. Okay, so again, I'm going to show you the movement, and then I'll invite you to do it with me. So in a moment, I'm going to invite you to find a comfortably wide stance, but there shouldn't be any pinching or pulling. So whatever feels right for your body, we'll just go into that. Okay. I'm going to check in here and make sure I've got that bend in my knees. So I'm not locking my knees. And in a minute, I'm going to hinge forward at my waist. And when I'm down, I'm going to take 3 deep breaths. So you can either notice your breath, that's all you need to do, or you might choose to take a deep breath in through your nose, pull that breath down as far as it naturally goes into your chest or into your belly, and then you can release with an open mouth and an audible sound. And we're going to do 3 deep breaths in 4 different positions. So again, you're just watching right now, and I'm going to walk you through this again. So we'll fold forward, and the most important thing is making sure the crown of the head is facing the floor, which means I'm not looking at the floor. If your eyes are open, you're looking at the wall or whatever is behind you. And so once you're in this position, you're going to take 3 deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, or you can just notice. And your breath might sound something like this. We'll do 3 breaths in the center, 3 breaths on one leg, 3 breaths on the opposite leg, and then 3 breaths reaching back and through the center of the legs. And just so you can see what I'm doing in that last position, I'm going to turn to the side. And so that final position is just coming back to center and reaching back and through the center of the legs. Okay. To come out of this, we're just going to put our hands on our thighs. We're going to heel toe, nice and slow, our feet back together. And then when we do this together, we're going to go much slower. But we're going to go up vertebrae by vertebrae. And the head is going to be the very last thing that comes upright. Okay. So when you're ready, we'll go ahead and take that comfortably wide stance. Allow the knees to be soft. And then we're going to hinge forward at the waist and making sure that the crown of the head is what's facing the floor. And then once you're here, we're going to do the 3 deep breaths. So in through the nose and out through the mouth, or you can simply notice your breath. There's no rush, and breathe at your own pace. And when you're ready, you can go to one leg or the other, doesn't matter what you do first. And we're going to do 3 deep breaths here. And then once you've done those deep breaths, you can go to the opposite leg and taking 3 deep breaths there, or simply noticing your breath. And then when you're ready, you can do your final round of breaths or final round of noticing, coming back to the center and then reaching back and through the center of your legs. Now to come up, you can put your hands on your thighs for support. We're going to nice and slow heel toe our feet back together. Remembering there's no rush, so take your time. And then once your feet are side by side, you can check in, make sure you've got that bend in both your knees. And then we're just going to come up vertebrae by vertebrae, nice and slow. And the head is going to be the last thing that comes upright. Sometimes I like to keep my eyes closed at the top for a minute. Can feel in again to our feet, what they feel like connecting to the mat or the floor beneath you. Sometimes it can feel good to kind of bounce in your knees. And then once you feel more stable, you open your eyes if they've been closed and you can see clearly, then we'll go ahead and we'll shake it out again. All right. Next movement. So again, we're just working our way up the body. And this one is for our thighs. And I'm just going to turn to the side so it's easier for you to see. And from here, again, we're going to stand with our feet about hip width apart. I like to check in, make sure that my weight is in my heels. And then you get a choice about what you do with your arms. You can either put them out in front of you. You might choose to cross them over your chest, whatever feels more comfortable. And we're just going to check in like we're sitting in a chair. So again, nice and slow and making sure that we're not locking our knees at the top. And we're looking for that 7 again. So 0, you don't feel anything at all. 10, it might be feeling like you're working out or it's starting to hurt. We don't want any pain. You just need to be around a 7. So where you can feel that sensation, the blood is flowing and you're like, yep, I can feel my thighs. Then you're there. And again, different bodies will do this for different lengths of time. Okay. So whenever you're ready, and find some space with your feet about hip width apart. I'm going to put my arms out in front of me, checking in that the weight is in my heels, and then just like you're sitting in a chair. And nice and slow. There's no need to rush. And sometimes it feels good to exhale while we do this. I don't know about you, but I have a tendency to hold my breath at times. And so following the pace of your own body, if you're not at your 7, that's okay. And if you are, then that's great too. Okay. Taking your time, finishing at your own pace. And then when you're ready, go ahead and shake it out. Okay. So this next movement is a psoas stretch. And our psoas is a pretty big muscle. It starts at the top of our femur bones, wraps around through our hips, and then connects down around our lumbar system. If you're familiar with different yoga classes, you may have heard yoga teachers talk about how we carry a lot in our hips, and this is the muscle that they're referring to. And so I'm offering this information because you might choose to skip these next 3 movements that are all associated with the psoas, because we do carry so much in this part of the body. And we are in a time where we're living through something that is a prolonged and high stress experience. And so again, I'm taking this moment to remind all of us, myself included, that we get to be gentle with ourselves. And one of the reasons that I love this practice is because as much as the movement has value, the resting is just as important, if not more. And that tuning in to how do we be gentle with our bodies and recognize that there is so much there for us. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to show you the movement, and then you get choice about whether or not you continue to do it for yourself. And I promise it will not impact your ability to experience the involuntary shaking and tremoring. Okay, I'm going to turn to the side. Yeah, I'm going to show it to you, and then I'll invite you to join me. So our feet are about hip width apart again. We're going to have our knees soft. I'm going to place my hands where pockets would be on pants. I'm going to roll my shoulders back to open up my chest. And then sometimes there's a tendency for the head to want to go back. And this isn't a back bend, so we're going to check in, make sure our chin is level. And then we'll just gently push our hips forward. And here we're going to take a couple of deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, or you can just notice your breath. We'll do a couple breaths, and then I'll show you how to do it on each side. All right, so when you're ready, we'll go ahead, standing with our feet about hip width apart. Make sure we've got that bend in our knees. Put our hands where pockets would be on pants. We're going to roll our shoulders back to open up our heart and lower our chin. And then we can gently push our hips forward. And then you're just going to take that breath in through your nose and out with an open mouth, or you can simply notice your breath. And then when you feel ready, we're going to come out of the position just by coming back into center. We'll give ourselves a second. And then when you feel ready, you kind of shake it out. Okay. So I'm going to do this next one. We'll do the right side first. So again, I'm going to show it to you, and then I'll invite you. Feet are hip width apart. Knees are soft. I'm going to place hands where pockets would be on pants. And then I'm just going to turn my hips to the right and gently push them forward. I'm going to roll my shoulders back to lift my heart. And then I'm going to take my right ear to my right shoulder. And then I'm going to bring my gaze behind my right shoulder and down to the floor. And so you might feel a stretch on the left side of the body. And we'll take a couple of breaths here, and then we'll come back to center. All right. So when you're ready, feet are hip width apart, hands where pockets would be on pants, knees are soft. We're just going to shift our hips to the right, and we'll gently push them forward. Check in to make sure that our heart is lifted by rolling our shoulders back. And then we can take our right ear to our right shoulder and bring our gaze behind that right shoulder down to the floor. And then just take a couple of deep breaths, or just notice your breath. And when you're ready, we'll come back to center. We can give ourselves a second here. And then shake it out when you feel ready. Okay. And now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do it together on the left side. All right, so feet are hip width apart. Knees are soft. Hands where pockets would be on pants. I'm going to turn our hips to the left. Gently push them forward. And then we're going to take our left ear to our left shoulder. We're going to bring our gaze behind our left shoulder and down to the floor. We'll just take a few deep breaths here. And when you're ready, we can come back out. Give yourself a moment. When you feel ready, we'll shake it out. All right. Okay. So the next movement is a wall sit, and it is pretty much what it sounds like. I'm going to go ahead and move my mat so that I've got some support under my feet. And again, I'll go ahead and show this to you, and then I'll invite you to join. And I don't have my phone up here to time this. That's okay, we'll play it by ear. All right, so in a moment, I'll invite you to find some space on your wall. And the directive here is pretty simple. You just want to make sure you can see all 10 of your toes. So this means that you are not going to be super deep, because the deeper I go, the less of my feet, the less of my toes I can see. So we want to make sure we can see all 10 of our toes. And we're looking for a tension level of around a 5. So 0, you don't feel anything. 10, it might be starting to hurt. You just want to be around a 5. And so if you feel like you're going over that, you're just going to walk your feet closer to the wall, which means your body's going to come up higher on the wall. But as long as you have a bend in your knee, you are in the right position. So we are going to be against the wall for roughly 3 to 5 minutes, because I'm going to be making it up since I don't have a timer to watch. And then as we get towards the end of that period, I'm going to show you how to come off the wall, because we're not going to stand straight up. Okay, so when you're ready, go ahead, feel free to find some wall space. Remembering, I'm going to come down, but make sure you can see all 10 of your toes. Okay. Now that you are in the position that you're in, I would invite you to allow your attention or your awareness to move down into your feet. So you can notice again the sensation, what the soles of your feet feel like, either against the mat or the floor that's supporting you. And you might notice where you feel the most connection or the most pressure. For me in this moment, I noticed that on the left side of my foot. Towards the front of my heel. You might even choose to move your feet just a little, so again, you can really feel that foundation that's there beneath you, supporting you. And then we can allow our attention or our awareness, if you would like, all of this is a choice, to travel up through our calves, over our knees, through our thighs, settling into our hips. With our attention moving into our hips and potentially our back space, feel free to make any adjustments that would make you feel more comfortable in this position. And then once you feel settled, choose to bring your awareness back into your hips and the back side of your body where it's connecting against the wall. And then you might choose to allow your awareness to to continue to move up the back side of your body. And you might just notice where the wall naturally makes contact. And for everyone right now who is like, oh my God, my whole back isn't touching the wall, you are normal. I've yet to meet anybody where their whole back touches the wall. So you can just check in and just notice where that wall and that connection between your body is happening. Then you can check in with your body. See where your number is on that scale of 0 to 10. So 0, you didn't feel anything. And 10, it might be feeling like you're having to work a little bit or effort. You might be beginning to hurt. We don't want any pain. We just want to be around a 5. So you can walk your feet a little closer to the wall, maybe come up a little bit higher. Just keeping that bend in the knee, knowing you're in the right position. When I'm teaching this practice in this position, I like to offer people the opportunity to maybe consider an intention for the rest of the practice. Obviously, totally optional. But if you choose to engage, you might choose to release and to receive and to integrate, or it might be something that's more specific for you. If you'd like to set an intention for the remainder of your practice, be quiet so that you could do that now. Okay. So in a moment, I'm going to invite you to come off the wall, but you're not going to stand straight up. And just like we've been doing, I'm going to show you right now what we're going to do, and then I'll guide you through it. So in a moment, I'll invite you to put your hands out in front of you in a diamond shape. And you're going to place your hands behind you against the wall, your lower back around your sacrum. And if your feet are still far from the wall, we'll walk them back, keeping that bend in on our knees. And then you're going to use your hands to gently push yourself off the wall into a forward fold. And then we're just going to hang here for about a minute. And we're going to come up the same way we did before. It'll be nice and slow, vertebrae by vertebrae. And we're going to make sure the head's the last thing that comes up right. Okay. So when you're ready, go ahead and put our hands out in front of us in that diamond shape. And place them behind your lower back. Check in with where your feet are. Probably want to walk them back towards the wall. Just keeping that bend in your knees. And then you're going to use your hands to gently push yourself into that forward fold. Keeping a bend in your knees, letting your arms hang if that feels okay, or maybe holding your elbows. And then here, you can just invite gravity to do some of the work. And so if it feels okay, you might invite your neck and your shoulders, your upper back, just to soften or let go a little bit more, only if it feels okay to do that. You might allow the muscles in your face in your forehead, your neck. I already said the neck. In your forehead, your cheeks and your jaw. And they don't have to hang on quite so tight. And so tuning into your body, hanging out here a little longer if that's what it feels like you'd like. Or you can begin to come back up nice and slow, vertebrae by vertebrae. And again, making sure your knees are soft. And taking our time. Letting the head be the very last thing that comes upright. And there's no need to rush if you're not in a standing position. Continue to move at the pace of your own body. And once you reach this position, you might tune in again to the soles of your feet, maybe bending your knees. And then once you feel stable, your eyesight is clear, go ahead and shake that out. Okay. Ooh. So the next half of this practice is on the floor. And like we've been doing, I am going to show it to you first, and then I'm going to guide you and talk you through it, which means I just want your mind to have an idea of what's coming so that you're not distracted by trying to figure out what I'm asking you to do when you're actually doing the movements. So just watch. It's kind of a lot of information. You don't need to remember it all because we're going to go through it together in a moment too. Okay. Whew. So in a moment, I'm going to turn the camera so you can definitely see the floor. Okay. In a moment, I'm going to invite you to lay down on your back. Feels good to lay on our backs sometimes. And from here, we're going to go into what's called a modified butterfly. And that just means bringing the soles of the feet together. And so the knees are going to fall out to the side. But there shouldn't be any pinching or pulling. And so what this means is you're just going to let your legs go where they go naturally. You can either slide your feet towards your hips or you can move your hips towards your heels. But we want to minimize the space between our hips and our heels, but only to the point of comfort. And then once you're here, we're going to rest for about a minute. After that, I'm going to invite you to go into a modified bridge. So the palms of our hands are face down. I'm going to lift our hips up and make some space between our hips and the ground. We're here for roughly a minute. We're going to lower back down into that modified butterfly. We'll rest here for 1 minute. And then after that, I'm going to say, we're going to stay in the same shape. The only thing that is going to change is I'm going to invite you to gently slide your feet forward. And what that will do is create a larger diamond shape with the lower half of your body. At this point, I'm going to invite you to raise your knees together about 2 inches. I'm going to turn so you can see a little better. So once we've slid our feet forward, we've made that larger diamond shape. We'll raise our knees about 2 inches. We're going to hold for 2 minutes. We'll raise them again about 2 inches, hold for 2 minutes. And then we're going to raise them a third time, about 2 inches and hold for 2 minutes. During this process, the soles of your feet are touching if that feels okay to your body. If that's hurting your ankles and your feet naturally want to go flat, then follow the lead of your body. After that third round, for anybody who still has their feet touching, the soles touching, I'm going to invite you to put the soles of your feet flat on the floor. And sometimes our bodies will want to separate our feet. And so I'll offer a reminder that the feet are flat on the floor and the feet stay side by side. And then for some of you, you'll still be feeling sensation. And so you're in the right position and you'll just let your body continue to move. For others, shifting may feel like it just kind of stopped or slowed things. And so I'll invite you to either allow your knees to come apart just a little bit. It's really subtle. Or you can bring your knees together. But when you start to feel some movement, then you can just let your body do what it's going to do. Okay. Wheel trimmer for 3 or 4 minutes. And then we're going to put our legs straight out in front. I'm going to turn back to the side now. And this is a resting position. I mentioned before, resting is really important with this practice, and it gives our bodies a chance to integrate the movement that's been happening. So we'll take a moment to rest. But this position is open to you or available to you at any point. So if we're at the beginning and I'm saying let's go into the modified bridge, you can always choose to skip that. You can choose to extend your legs, and then you can just rejoin when it feels right for your body, or you can continue to rest the rest of the practice. Okay, so we will rest. And then for those who might like to move a little longer, I'll invite you to come back into the position you were in before. Soles of the feet are flat on the ground, feet are side by side. We'll let the knees kind of fall out or come together, and then when we start to feel some movement, we'll let our bodies go again. And move for another 3 to 4 minutes. And then after that, I'm going to invite you to go back into the final integrative rest. And this rest is about 4 minutes. And you can take this rest on your back, or you might choose to roll to your side. You can use your arm like a pillow, and you can rest here. Okay. I offered the specific minutes because, again, I feel a little uncomfortable about this, but I don't have my timer. And so if you choose to do this practice again or on your own, or if you want to be more precise about what we're doing, you can always pause the video and use your own timer and then start back again. Because I will be playing it by ear. But as you get more comfortable with the practice, that's what you can do. You can listen to your body. You don't have to be following this in such a prescriptive way. All right. So when you're ready, I invite you to find some space on the floor where you can stretch out your body completely. I'll give you a moment to get there, and then I will meet you on your back. Okay. So that first position is the modified butterfly. So we're going to bring the soles of our feet together. We'll let our knees fall out where they go naturally. And then if there's a lot of distance between your hips and your heels, you either walk your feet back or you can scoot your hips forward. We'll minimize that space to the point of comfort. And we're just going to rest here for about a minute. So you can kind of sink into your body. And you can notice where there are places of contact between your body and the foundation that is underneath and rising up to support you. And I'm going to remind you one more time before we go into this modified bridge that everything is a choice. You can rest whenever you feel like it. That just means the legs are out in front. You can rejoin or continue to rest at your own pace. Your mind's responsibility is just to be tracking your thoughts, feelings, sensations. And if there's any kind of a knowing of uncertainty or fear or discomfort, then we're just going to listen to those little knowings, or big, depending, and recognize that that's a cue for us to rest. Okay. So when you're ready, if you'd like to join the bridge, we're going to put the palms of our hands face down. We're going to raise our hips into the air, and then we'll just be here for roughly a minute. And sometimes it feels good to exhale in this position. Mm. And when you're ready, gently lower your hips back to the floor if you haven't done so already. We'll return to that modified butterfly. Knees fall out to the side where they go naturally. The soles of the feet are together. We'll rest here for about a minute. And checking in, making sure that you can feel your back touching the floor, that you recognize that contact. And if you can't feel that, or if you feel a little spacey or distant, then I would invite you just to extend your legs to rest with your eyes open for a few moments. And if you're feeling safe and comfortable, continue to stay and continue in the practice. All right, so we are going to stay in the same position. The only change is we're going to slide our feet forward to make that larger diamond shape with the lower half of our body. And at this point, I'm going to turn so you can see my body maybe a little easier. We're just going to raise our knees about 2 inches towards each other. We're going to be here for roughly 2 minutes. And again, remembering that you can always extend your legs out in front of you to rest. And then when you're ready, we'll move our knees up about 2 more inches, and we'll hold for another round of roughly 2 minutes. Remembering there's no right or wrong way for your body to do this. Different bodies are going to do it differently, and they're going to do it differently at different times. And also remembering that that rest is always available. Just extending the legs straight out in front of you. And again, remembering that you can rejoin if you choose whenever you're ready. And then when you're ready, we can bring our knees together the final 2 inches. The soles of the feet are still touching, if that's okay for your ankles. And we'll hold for roughly another 2 minutes. And then when you're ready, go ahead and put our feet flat on the floor and side by side each other. And then if your body is already moving, you can allow it to continue to move, or you can gently let your knees come apart or come back together. As you feel movement, you just let your body take it from there. We'll move for another few minutes. Remember, you can always rest if that feels like what your body needs or wants. And I will also be cueing a rest in a couple of minutes. I'm just going to turn this way now. Remember to check in with yourself. Do you feel safe? Do you feel comfortable with what's happening? Does all of you feel safe, comfortable? And if the answer is yes, then feel free to keep moving. And if there's any part of you that is saying no or feels uncertain, remembering that that's a cue to rest. And when you're ready, if you haven't chosen to rest already, and in the next 30 seconds or so, I'd invite you to just extend your legs out in front of you. And then we'll just let our bodies integrate what they've been doing. We'll rest for a minute or two. Okay. So you have a choice. You can continue to rest. That feels like what would be best for your body. Or if you'd like to continue moving a little longer, go ahead and bend our knees back, allowing the soles of the feet to be on the floor. Feet are side by side. And then again, you're either going to let your knees fall apart or come back together. And then once you feel some movement, you just let our bodies move again. We'll move for another 3 to 4 minutes for those who would like before we go into the final integrative rest. You're still moving, we'll give our bodies another half minute or so. And then when it feels right, you can go ahead and move into that integrative rest, either with your legs extended or on your side. I'm going to rest for about 3 to 4 minutes. It can be tempting to skip this part, and I would strongly encourage you not to do that. It's important for our bodies to be able to integrate what we've done. And honestly, when I skip the rest, this rest period, I feel nauseous and I have a headache the rest of the day. That may not happen to you, but you can just lay here for 3 or 4 minutes quietly. When it feels right for your body, you might begin to move your wrists or your ankles. You might also choose to stretch and sometimes it can feel good to squeeze our arms or muscles in our legs. Just kind of feeling back into the container that we have, recognizing this home. Sometimes it can feel good to touch our faces. And then once you've made whatever movements feel like your body might like to make, you can roll to one of your sides using one of your arms, almost like a push yourself back up to an upright position. Taking your time, remembering that there's no rush. We can just take a moment in the same way that we began and kind of tune back into what it feels like for the floor to be underneath our bodies. Recognizing that support, recognizing that gravity is holding us here. You can either bring your attention to your breath, just notice how your body breathes itself. Or you might choose to take an intentional breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Thank you for joining me today. And know that I am sending you love from here in Asheville. I guess I feel compelled to add that we are all in this together. Okay. If you'd like to join TRE for a live session, you can check out for the Zoom link, 11 a.m. Eastern Time every Monday. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.